Hello, people of YouTube. So this video is going to be all about UC or University of California applications. I'm going to start off by saying that I am a transfer student, which means that I went to a community college and then I applied to transfer to a UC. So last year I was applying to UC Berkeley, UCLA, UC San Diego, and UC Irvine. Did I already say that? I'm not sure. And UC Davis. So around this time last year, I was doing exactly what you were doing, freaking out completely over UC applications. It was my life. It still is my life. I mean, it never ends. The process never ends, but it's great and I love it. And I just thought I would share some useful tips that I found helpful when I was applying last year. So, first things first, the deadline is November 30th. So the application period is currently open, as you probably already know. It opened on November 1st and it closes on November 30th. So do not procrastinate. Get that application in on time. I cannot stress that enough because I had heard horror stories that students waited until the last second, the last minute, 11:59 p.m. to turn in their application, only to find that the website has crashed on them. And I was terrified and I did not want that to happen, so I turned my application in a few days before the deadline, just to give myself some leeway. But that is very, very important to turn in your application on time. Do not procrastinate. Second, it's more along the lines of not procrastinating again, but try to start that personal statement as soon as possible if you have not already. There's about a couple of weeks left until they're due, so hopefully you have already started your personal statement. A lot of people may think that personal statements are not that important, but they are extremely important. I would say that they hold quite a bit of weight, especially for transfer applicants, if not all applicants. So it is important to write the best personal statement that you possibly can. And try to get that paper or those personal statements edited by as many people as you can. I will focus a little bit more on personal statements in probably my next video, but I really just start it as soon as possible, edit it as much as possible, have a lot of people look at it and edit your paper. So the next tip I want to talk about is try to have an idea of what classes transfer over to the colleges you are applying to. You know, decide what major you are applying for and really make sure that you have those major requirements done. Now, a lot of the schools accept your general education or your IGETC, and that's great if you have that done, but it is also very important that you have some, if not all, of your major requirements done. Now, you're maybe wondering, how do you know which schools need which classes in order for you to transfer over? So if you already haven't heard of it, there is a lovely website called assist.org, and I will link that probably below, that helps you see which classes you need to have prior to your enrollment at whichever UC you end up going to. So for example, I am an English major, and so UCLA required different major requirements than UC Berkeley did. UC Berkeley, I only needed Shakespeare and a British literature course. Those were the only courses that transferred over from my community college to UC Berkeley. However, UCLA required a few more classes, and they were all shown on Assist. And actually last year there was a problem that I encountered, and anytime I would encounter a problem, I would just go directly to the source. I would either call UCLA or call UC Berkeley or Irvine or Davis or lines directly, because I did not want to mess up any part of my application. So don't be afraid to call the schools. Don't be afraid to ask a lot of questions. They're there to help you. They want to help you. They want to bring in students who are excited to learn. Next tip is calm down. Everything's gonna be fine. I know that's super easy for me to say because I'm not in your shoes, but I was in your shoes last year and I know exactly what you're feeling, and I was stressing out over every tiny little detail, and I thought if I didn't have one thing right on my application, they were just gonna throw it out, which is totally ridiculous when I think about it in hindsight, but I can imagine the stress you're under right now, and it's gonna be okay. Everything's gonna turn out fine. Even if you don't get accepted anywhere, there's so many opportunities that you have to redeem yourself. You can apply again next year. You can apply to a Cal State. You can apply to private schools as well. So it's not the end of the world if you don't get accepted, or even if you don't get accepted to your top school. Everything will turn out fine, I promise. And so just calm down. Everything's going to be fine. I know you're stressed, but there's no need to completely freak out. Everything's going to be fine. So I wish I knew that. I kind of knew everything was hopefully going to turn out okay, but I was extremely worried, very stressed out. Wasted a lot of time being stressed out when I could have been perfecting my application. I remember when I was submitting my applications, I read over my application like 500,000 times, and even after I turned it in, I read it after I turned it in, and I found mistakes, and that was the worst possible thing I could have done, because then I realized, oh my gosh, I made like it was a really super tiny mistake, but I was terrified that that was going to cost me my acceptances, or they were going to deny me for something very, very minor. That's another thing. When you submit your applications, make sure you kind of completely read over the entire thing. Make sure all of your classes are on there. Make sure you completely looked at your transcripts accurately and make sure that they match up perfectly. It's very important. That's very important. My mistake was when you copy and paste your essay into the submission box, it alters the characters a little bit, so I forgot to add them in. And when I noticed that after I submitted that was the absolute worst feeling. I just completely shut it down and I never opened it up again until I got my acceptance letters, because that was too much stress. So that is another tip. Once you turn it in, let it go into the world. Don't stress over it after you've already turned it in. It's done. It's turned in. It's whatever is going to happen is going to happen. You can't get it back from the computer. So make sure it's what you want them to see. And yeah, that's about it. I will discuss personal statements more in depth in another video, and I wish you all the best of luck. I will link assist.org. I will link the page you go to apply to all of these schools, and I will see you in my next video. Calm down, don't worry, everything's gonna be fine. Good luck, you guys. And if you have any questions at all, I will be more than happy to answer them. I love to help with UC applications. It was an interesting period of time in my life, and I look forward to your questions, and I look forward to helping you. And anything you guys want to ask, or girls want to ask, feel free to comment below. Okay.